I wanted to start with what the vision of NPIP was, what our aspirations were of creating a national centre, and really why we felt this was what we needed. We needed to be at the forefront of clinical research. So just to give a reminder what NPIP is. So NPIP is an investment of £32 million from the UK government through the UK Research and Innovation Infrastructure Fund. So this was a collaboration between the Medical Research Council, Innovate UK, and the Medicines Discovery Catapult, and we wanted to form NPIP. So we wanted to create the first of its kind total body PET imaging platform for clinical imaging research, so bringing everyone together. And our objectives in doing this was, to bring together the transformational clinical research that we're seeing within the UK, the commercially led research and the complementarity between all of that, to enhance the quality and speed of drug discovery, to get new patients into man. And we wanted to industrialise cutting-edge technology, so technology that has such fantastic research implications, but deploying that and making it routinely available we thought was really important. Not only having the technology, but also having access to the PET tracer, so actually having fuel to go into the infrastructure and having access to that world-class clinical teams, but also having an oversight that can really facilitate and operationally, bring everything together we thought would provide that unique clinical medicine resource to not only the UK, but the global pharma and biotech community. So since last spring, we have made significant progress. So our ecosystem is a national asset. We've now got the formation of our first two NPIP centres, which span the length and breadth of the country. Our England Centre, so a collaboration between King's College London and Imperial, and Scotland, a collaboration between the University of Edinburgh and the University of Glasgow. Most recently, we've welcomed the Royal Free London into our partnership with NPIP, and it's been amazing to see they've got their scanner up and running. They've got some fantastic images from that, some great protocols, and they're really showcasing what this technology will offer. We're working very closely, and we're delighted to work with the British Nuclear Medicine Society as well as one of our partners, and we want to help facilitate as much as we can. So we want to connect those research projects together to build that rich bank of data, to share our protocols and to share our knowledge, but really we want to do that across the research community to ultimately benefit our patients. So if we look at how we are using PET in the UK at the moment, so last year in England we performed 45.4 million imaging tests. And of those, greater than 250,000 were PET-CT, but 90% of them were PET-CT scans which were FDG, so fluorodeoxyglucose, to look at metabolism. But we are seeing, and the case we put to the government and the funders, that the demand and use for PET-CT is growing. And that increased usage is due to the new PET tracers. We're seeing a huge opportunity with fluorinated PSMA and different waves of new tracers coming into development. Alongside and parallel to diagnostics, we're seeing the emergence of radiopharmaceutical therapy, lutetium dotatate, and a fantastic acquisition in a number of companies in the radiopharmaceutical space. And we're also seeing, which is really great as well, is that insertion of PET into clinical guidelines. And underpinning all that, there's also advancement into PET and PET-CT technology. So what is the future then? And where are we going? So we've heard this morning that current PET-CT systems, they have a smaller field of view, and they only cover parts of the body. So the body gets moved into... I'm getting confused by that. The body gets moved into the PET scanner and has to be moved through several times, and as such, the acquisition time is long. But total body PET systems have a much larger field of view, and they cover much more of the body. So they're allowing highly sensitive scanning of the body in real time to enable research into multi-organ and complex disease. So we really felt, as we were then set to enter a new area of PET technology that we do think will transform the landscape of clinical research and clinical PET imaging, that this was our springboard. We wanted to lead the future of nuclear medicine. So there's a number of advantages of total body PET. We've got a lower radioactive dose, so we can inject 5 to 20% of the standard dose we're seeing on current PET scanners. We've got a higher throughput, so we can image more patients and have a reduced imaging time. We've got increased sensitivity, so we can look and detect smaller lesions, less than 5 millimeters in size. The increased resolution will enable us to provide and resolve distant metastases and really resolve those metastatic and small lesions. A really exciting area, and we've heard from that this morning, is in dynamic imaging. and measuring that body in real time with fluorodeoxyglucose, really pulling out those multiparametric pathophysiological imaging parameters that's really going to tie down and pull down that quantification to really identify between sort of false positives and false negatives. We've got delayed imaging. We can image for longer, and it's going to be really important in multi-organ disease, from systems biology and to cellular tracking. So total body PET will, obviously we know, provide that vital information across multiple disease areas in the whole body. So we've talked about the increased sensitivity and resolution, so in oncology, really resolving and looking at those tiny, tiny tumours and being able to treat them at an early stage is going to be really critical for how we treat our patients. In obesity and metabolic syndrome, so actually, imaging those multi-organs simultaneously, looking at gut-brain interactions, is going to be really, really important for looking at that whole body in real time. In musculoskeletal disease, so by being able to look at the whole assessment of disease burden in rheumatoid arthritis, when we know, the pain and the burden is imperative to the patient, by looking at it in a whole body is going to be essential. In infection and inflammation, so not only detecting the infection, but actually elucidating the pathogenesis behind that, looking at it from an inflammatory perspective, not only when the infection is there, but following it up to understand how that body is responding. And in cardiovascular disease, so we heard from Professor David Newby this morning, really how it's going to be pivotally important and game-changing to understand that systemic effects of disease, monitor those arterial plaques early on, and really be able to track that activity over time. We're seeing a huge activity in cellular-based therapies that's showing great patient benefits, so not only in cell-based therapy, immunotherapy, stem cell therapy, but really being able to understand where these therapies are going to and understanding their biological fate is going to be critical for seeing that patient impact and that response to therapy. So whilst we can currently visualize and quantify those cells and function in vivo, we have to detect very large concentrations, which is potentially not that minimal effective dose, and we can't really follow their persistence for a long period of time. So by being able to detect decreased quantities and following them for much longer really allows that really articulation of that immune cell trafficking, but elucidates the mechanism of what's happening within the patient. So really being able to do a personalised healthcare paradigm and understanding what those patients are going to respond, I think is going to be critical in actually seeing that response and population of cancer immunotherapy. So our scope is to provide national access, to be there as a facilitator, a friend, a collaborator, to provide that centralised front door, and having that centralised front door, we hope will disseminate and grow and allow facile growth and expansion, because fundamentally, we want to unlock those opportunities for clinical research and development. So just to touch briefly then, how we will use NPIP in total body PET in research and what our aspirations were as we put the business case together, why we felt we wanted to become evolved. So on the left-hand side is our objectives of where we wanted to make that world-class provision of PET imaging in the UK to bring those really important clinical trials into our country. We recognise we want to see that increased clinical translation of those novel radio tracers that hold so much opportunity and are so important to see this technology facilitate and grow. We heard from our partners, from our clinicians, from our academic partners in industry and SMEs that actually having access easily to research PET was not something they were currently necessarily able to do. And then fundamentally to see those better patient outcomes and increased healthcare efficiencies was really important. So we want to have a balance of research between all three, so the basic research, the clinical practice and industrial research, and we split our benefits into three main benefits. So having a research of interest, so of course the studies and the protocols that's going to be so impactful in the coming years to really characterise disease, to understand how we're better going to treat that disease. But now also our research of importance, so our patients of today, making sure we've got the right trials for them, the right clinical research, and ensuring that we're affecting patients in the short term as well as the long term. And for our investors, we really need to show, and we've got that return of investment, not only from a monetary perspective, but also in the healthcare benefits and impacts that they've done for their £32 million investment. So I've got some examples very briefly of how we feel we're going to use that. So one example here, I think, is a really unique area in that dynamic imaging of the body in real time is going to show so much, but this is an example in T-cell trafficking. So enabling research from immunology to multi-organ disease. And actually, what we can see by using total body PET is we can actually measure that T-cell distribution in all tissue types. So this is an example of a CD8 T-cell tracking study, which is in patients that were recovering from COVID-19. And what we were able to identify, or what the study identified, was that using total body PET, they could show that the T-cells were proliferating into the bone marrow. So understanding that and understanding where the T-cells are going is going to be really critical in actually being able to image and develop that immunotherapy after viral infection, and it can be obviously used across multiple disease areas. An area where we're seeing a great deal of interest is in clinical practice of total body PET imaging in paediatric patients. And what we're seeing is that these ultra-fast scan times that we can do with total body PET and using that low dose for those young patients will actually often eliminate that need for sedation. So this is a really exciting article that was published by the Rigshospitaler University, and they showed the protocols of how they are using their total body PET system in paediatric imaging, and it's been great, to read that. They've got some fantastic research, but also, to look at the protocols they're using shows that you can have, paediatric patients that have gone from a 2.5-hour scan to a 5-minute scan, which is going to be really, really important for this patient population. So we're really driving that, and we're really excited to be supporting a patient engagement workshop in paediatric imaging as well in the coming weeks. We talked about that research of importance, so I really want to emphasise that we can see the benefit of how we can actually see that enhanced scale of clinical research projects by enhancing those patient throughput and capacity, and we can already see that with the work the Royal Free are doing, with their patients and learning from the protocols and what they can do. So that improved sensitivity means that we can, get from a conventional field of view digital PET-CT scan, we can get the same images within under 10 minutes. But I think it's already been described today as well, we can use it very flexibly as well, so not only delivering high-quality, ultra-fast images, but also we can interplay that and turn it on its head and do low dose and manipulate our protocols depending on the clinical context. So just to summarise, before I just go into one final tiny bit of how, you can work with us and how we would love, to hear from you and be involved, we do hopefully feel that, forming that national platform and being that neutralised broker brings some real vast and transformative opportunities for our PET community. And we really feel, we have this potential now with these amazing scanners that are coming online and an amazing community that works together so well, to bring our UK imaging research on that world stage, to give those better patient outcome and healthcare efficiencies. And I think, we fundamentally recognise that greater collaboration across the clinical research community is exactly, what's going to make NPIP a success. So, we're here to help, we're here to work with you. So I just want to touch base on my final slide of, what is that call to action? So we are inviting clinicians from across the UK, across the world, to join us to enable and to let us help you accelerate your own programs in discovery. We really want to work together across all of our stakeholder teams to utilise that NPIP resource. So 50% of the time of the 2 NPIP scanners is for national time. I know the 2 centres and the Royal Free are really excited, to welcome all those collaborators who want to work with them, because that working together and transferring our knowledge is what is going to make NPIP a success. So we are a 7-year programme. So there's a number of ways we can work with you. We can work with you on collaborative research and development grant opportunities, to offer you letters of support in your educational needs, to do commercial fee for service, but we do also have a pilot funding pot that we can look to fund, initial pilot scans just to enable you to go into your broader grant applications. And, we definitely do see this as a long-term proposal that we want to see grow and actually be sustainable after 7 years. So I'm looking forward to working with you all. In the next few weeks, we will see the recruitment of our first NPIP trial, so the Stampede 2 trial, which is the PSMA trial. recruiting up to 1,800 patients will start to become operational, and I'll be really excited to see that in action and many, many more trials in the future. So please do get in touch. We're here to help, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from you all.
Thank you very much, Juliana. Do you have any questions for Juliana, please? So it's important to engage, is it? So it's a lovely visionary talk, and I think it's now up to us to apply for grants together with you. So is there anything else that you would particularly want to mention, how to contact you apart from the website, clearly?
Yep, so the website, our email address, so we're jm@npip.org.uk, and my colleague in Wilson, IW, but yeah, nothing's, off the table. We recognise we want to hear from you, of how we can help. So if it's not even from a total body PET perspective, what would not make you be successful, and how we can help facilitate that.
I think there was one question, but it's quite difficult to see from here. But if you want to ask, please go to the mic.
Hi. So I was just wondering, when NPIP is up and running, how would users actually interface with it?
So we've been up and running since October. Already we've seen a real great deal of interest, which is fantastic. So more so people, reach out to us. We talk, we understand what their needs are, and then we work to facilitate either access onto the scanners, or it could be, being a partner in a fellowship program, in a PhD studentship. So each, I think, inquiry we've had has been bespoke, but we've just tried to, to be reactive to that and solutionise it to make sure that it works for the collaborator who's reached out to us.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.